So you want to quit your job, but before you quit your job and start your business, do this first. I get it. I get why people want to lose their job, because I was there about 5 years ago where I was always working dead-end jobs, caused me to get into depression. It contributed to me having a very low self-esteem. I didn't believe that there was anything better for me. Instead, I would just complain, tell myself how much I hate the job. I'd be walking to work crying. I would be talking to my other co-workers being like, oh, I hate this job. And you know how the whole thing goes. And I think my turning point was where someone had offered me a car, because at the time I didn't have a car. And they offered it at a really great price. And I remember I couldn't afford it. So I started like writing out the numbers, you know what I mean? Trying to work around the numbers, trying to figure out, okay, so how can I afford this car so I could stop taking the bus? Because taking the bus was a whole nother obstacle where it was. And I remember I was so disappointed because I couldn't even take the person up on an offer because I had no money and I had maxed out credit card. So even if I wanted to use my credit card at the time, I couldn't even do that. And that's where I was. That was the extent of where I was. Finally, in my case, I had lost my job. And there was some aspects where I wish I had done stuff differently before I lost a job, because I basically ran out of time. That's what I always tell people, is I ran out of time to start my business. And I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want you to lose your job or continue to be miserable in your job if you can't leave your job yet. And that's why we're doing this video. Remember how I said how I ran out of time? And what I meant by that is, while I was in the job, this dead-end job, I would constantly make excuses. Meaning that I would get home and be like, I'm too tired, because let's face it, when you don't like a job, when you're working a job, it takes way more energy than it should, because you don't like it. So you have to put extra effort. You have to fake it and smile and pretend you love all the customers in the whole wide world. You have to take crap from people. You have to, and all the things. You have to fake a smile. You're not being yourself, and it takes so much more energy when you don't like a job. And so by the time I got home, I was pooped and I wasn't motivated to work on my own things. And now my name is Akia, and I did $1.4 million in 4 years selling on Amazon, starting my store, and now I'm dedicated to helping people find their products, find their niche, and start their store. Number one, enjoy the process and don't focus so much on the end, especially while you're in your job. So here's the ironic thing, is that when I was in my job, and I wish I didn't do this, and that's why I'm sharing this, is I went in this constant loop of researching all the time and trying to get to the end result, where eventually it just left me overwhelmed and not taking action and just staying where I was. So if I could give you any advice, is that if you are looking to build your business, you're looking to start your e-commerce store, start focusing on the process and find things that you love about the process. So I know you may not like your job. When you enjoy the process, when you enjoy something, going to your job will get easier. Working your job will get easier because you know you have a goal in mind. If you're so focused on leaving your job and you're always telling yourself, I need to get out of here, I need to get out right now, you're gonna end up frustrated. Because what happens is that when you're then starting to work on your business, you get frustrated, you're not motivated because you're still at the job. And that's why I'm gonna share today, for the first tip, is look for ways to enjoy the process. Number two, figure out how you can start enjoying life. So yes, you may be in a job that's sucking you dry and killing you softly. I get that. I didn't really enjoy life. There were still challenges in my Amazon business, and I still had to find ways that I enjoyed life. So while you're working your job, find ways that you enjoy life. Do stuff that you love. Find a hobby. Don't just go home and just sleep and then start work again, because that's how people get discontented. That's how people get unhappy. Because the more you find little things that you love, it gets easier to work on your own business. You get more motivated. It's easier to be inspired to work on your business. So if you're in a job and you're not inspired and it's sucking you dry, you need to have something that you enjoy doing so it fuels you, so then you can work on your own thing. The reason why people don't work on their business every day, and the reason why they're not doing what they know they're supposed to do, is because they're not inspired, motivated enough to go after what they want. So make it a goal for yourself to fall back in love with life again. Don't hate your life. Don't punish yourself because you're in a job where it's not your ideal. And I get that, but you have to realize that since you're in it, you better own it. It's better to own where you are right now and start loving your life outside of work. Because once you love life outside of work, then it gets easier to then do the things that you want to do, to see your goals come to life. Because without that, it gets harder. That's why you'll see people go get inconsistent with their business. Some days are working it, some days are not. Some days they're excited to do it, some days are not. And what will happen is that once you start enjoying life and you start doing things you love, you'll learn to do your business anyways, even when you're tired, because you're inspired. When you tell yourself you are too tired to work on your business or you don't feel like doing it, you're just not inspired enough, you're not motivated enough to do it, to get out your job. Because the real truth is that if you are not willing to enjoy your life, you don't really want to get out your job. You want to stay miserable. You like that validation. And so you have to get yourself in check and realize you want more than just your job. You actually want to leave. And I guess a good question to ask yourself is, do I really want to leave my job, or am I comfortable here? Because I see a lot of people say they don't like their job. They don't, they're not in love with their job. But the real truth is they don't really want to leave. And until you decide to yourself and say, hey, I'm ready to leave my job, you're going to stay there. Because that, if you're not ready to leave your job, it reflects in other areas where you're not taking action. You're telling yourself excuses. You're telling yourself, I'm too tired to do this. When you want something to happen, you'll make it happen. When you want to watch that Netflix show, you're quick to go and watch that Netflix show, right? You make time for it. You get all settled in, take your hot bath, and then you go sit down in your bed and you're like, yes. And that's how you should feel about your business. Is that you, like, as soon as you go home, you're like, okay, so from 7 to 10, I'm gonna work on my business. I'm gonna do all the things between 5 and 7, gonna eat, cook, whatever it may be, and then we're hitting the game running. I didn't really want to leave my job. I was so scared. The longer you stay in a job that's sucking you dry and it's making you unhappy, your mental health gets affected. There's always consequences to all your actions. No job or whatever you decide to do is worth your mental health. So you have to think about those things and really reassess and be like, do I really want to do my passions? Do I really want to start that business? Do I really want to start that store? Or am I content here and I'd rather be miserable and let my mental health spiral? That's not worth it. What you focus on is what you become. So if you decide and you just want to keep on telling yourself you hate your job, you're not enjoying life, that's what your life is going to become. If you focus on being more happy, doing stuff you enjoy, that's what you're going to become. So that is your decision. If this has been motivating and impactful, feel free to like the video and text YouTube at 833-431-0828. Get next level training to start a store. Number 3, find someone to help you. So about 3 months before I lost my job, because I knew it was coming, there was this feeling. I can't explain it. I remember, I think I hit a point, but at the time I wasn't sure what the next step was. I hit a point where I was like, I'm tired of going to this job every single day and being unhappy, and it's time for me to do the thing that I love. So what I started doing is I started researching to see what exactly is out there that I can do. I started actually booking calls with coaches. And here's what happened. I would speak to them and they would talk about, their results, like what they can help with. And I would always feel stuck. And the real reason behind that was that I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel like I would get results. And so I feared that I would, in my mind, I was like, well, if I spend this money, I might not get results because I tried so many times before. You are not your past. You are not your circumstances. Just because you failed before, or you did a mistake, or you let yourself down before, that doesn't define you right now. So doing a mistake doesn't mean that you can't move forward. Doing a mistake doesn't mean that you can't try again. I wish someone was there to tell me that. Right back then, I didn't know how to move forward. Yes, everything sounded appealing with the coaches, but I didn't know like how much of an impact it would have done. I didn't understand that it was an investment in myself, but I didn't believe in myself enough. I wasn't there yet. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if you have been trying to start your store, if you have been trying to start that business, have a passion project, wanting to leave your job, find someone to help you, whatever the expertise is, and get someone so they can give you the steps and motivate you and show you the way and maybe even help you if you have a lot of fears. They are the right people that can help you, because when there's times when you're like, oh, well, I'm too tired, and you're making excuses, they'll remind you, remember that goal that you said you want to make 10K a month. So if you're too tired to do it, it's gonna take longer and you're gonna stay longer in that job. And sometimes we get stuck in this bubble and we don't realize that if we don't take the action, we're gonna stay here, because in our minds we're like, oh, we'll wait for that perfect opportunity. When the right time comes, we'll wait till we pay off that bill or pay off that debt, and the right time is right now, not 2 years from now, not 1 year from now or a month. Right time is right now to start imperfect. You don't have to be perfect to get to where you want to be. Number 4, start working on your mindset. Just because you have a thought doesn't mean that you have to believe it. So because my mindset wasn't at the level it is now, because I've learned so much, I didn't catch the thoughts that were holding me back. So I constantly told myself, hey, like, you're not gonna find another job that's better, so you might as well stay here. You might as well be unhappy. This is gonna be your life. You know what I'm talking about, that negative self-talk that's always trying to keep you safe, which leads to being broke. Because safe, it's hard for you to walk out and step out, right? If you wanna be safe, it's hard for you to take that risk on what you really want to do. So then you stay at your job. That's why people stay so many years at a job unhappy, because they're scared to take that risk of failing. But the thing is that you can't be scared to take the risk. But we already talked about that in the previous one, so let's move on here. The first thing to be aware of your thought, and this is something I did, is start writing down all your thoughts. So make a list. Make a list of all your thoughts that you're telling yourself. Oh, I can't start my store. I'm not making enough sales. And clap back with something positive. I can start my store, and I will start my store. I know what product I want to do. My store will be profitable. Start clapping back with every negative thought. Clap back with a positive one and rewrite it, because you'll find that most of the time it doesn't make sense. You're telling yourself you can't make money in your store. How do you know that if you haven't done it? How do you know that if you haven't given yourself time or you haven't started? You're telling yourself there's nothing better than the job that you have now. How do you know that? Have you started applying? Have you started working on your passion project? That's important. Come on now. When I started my Amazon store, yes, I got to 6-figure months. But the part that people don't realize is that in the beginning, when I started sourcing for products, when I started sourcing for products and started doing all the work every day, guess what was coming in my mind? Oh, Nakia, like, you're not gonna be successful at this because you failed so many businesses. Nakia, are you sure you're not wasting your time? Like, girl, just stop what you're doing. You're not getting results yet. Mind you, it was only a week. And I remember getting those thoughts, and right away I was like, nope, we're gonna continue, because I didn't want to get stuck in that cycle. And so that's the type of motivation you want to have for yourself, is that whenever your mind tries to tell you, oh, you're too tired, you know what, just take a rest, you could do tomorrow. Lies. Because most of the time, then tomorrow comes and guess what happens? The same thing. Oh, I'll just do it Friday. It's Tuesday now, I'll just do it Friday and weekend. You never get around to it. Until you start taking the action, until you start catching your thoughts, it gets very hard to move forward. Thinking about starting a store and you don't know what product you want to do next, watch this video next, and it'll help you find a product so you can get your store started.